Red spot. You guys trust him with a pen. All I ever give is a pencil. I'm teasing. That's the best part about sitting in bed seat. I finally get a pen. I usually get a pencil. No.
I just got it.
That's usually because you have to have a signed minutes. I remember those days.
When I was talking this morning about it.
And I'm not complaining at all.
Steve, you've got those half sheets for the...
No, I got the full. Over there. Yeah. Thanks.
That's I know. Phil is coming. Did you know that?
Yeah. Yeah. You know pretty well. Did you read this? I made a bride. Nice picture of the color. There he is. He's coming. I have a college basketball game today. So I have to do your records. Yeah. But that was reassigned way before it went until. Wow. That's excellent.
I understand we barely have a quorum tonight, as long as we have four of us, and that's here at 4:45. Why don't we begin? Owing to the fact we're going to lose our quorum in about 45 minutes, Wayne asked that we move the staff reports to the end and move the business items to the beginning of the meeting. Do we have any letters in communication?
There is one letter of communication to the board. I'd like to read it into the record. It's from Tom Lucky Jr., Ogdensburg Boys and Girls Club Executive Director. To the directors at OBPA, thank you so much for your kind donation to the club in memory of Mr. Looney. Mr. Looney was a great supporter of the club and all youth and will certainly be missed. The family will be notified of your generosity. Sincerely, Tom Lucky Jr., Ogdensburg Boys and Girls Club Executive Director.
Beautiful. We have September 2nd minutes. Are they ready to be approved? Does anybody know? Jim's read them and
yes.
Jim recommends their approval.
Many of the changes signatures we were holding until they're here the signatures for Friday.
Yeah, we approved them a couple meetings ago, but they weren't ready. Remember, Fred thought they were,
okay.
And they weren't.
So do you want to reapprove them tonight? We'll sign them tonight. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes that have been reviewed by Jim Field?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Everyone in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We do have at least one. We have media here. Do we have any comments from citizens amongst the two of you from media? No. There is a woman, Marlene Chappell, who will be making a presentation to us. We've asked her, however, to wait until the end of our business agenda so that we can get through that with a full quorum. We're going to skip then the citizens items, move right into general administration, the business items, and we'll do the staff reports at the end as well.
Yes. Before we get to that, though, would it be possible to reschedule the March 3rd meeting for 3 o'clock as opposed to 4 o'clock?
We did that last time. We moved it up an hour for us, but yeah.
Okay.
Yep. You told us to need an extra hour. So hopefully they're going to have it marked on their calendar is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
All right, well, first things first, under general administration, I thought it was appropriate that we take a moment and we recognize George Looney as a member and past chairperson of the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority. I'd like everybody to take a minute and reflect on some of the contributions under Mr. Looney's leadership and also tenure on the board, things that we where would we be had these things not happened? For example, rehabilitation of the North Fork Ogdensburg rail line, acquisition of locomotives, the Commerce Park Master Plan, construction of 14 industrial buildings, development of an airport master plan, airport capital improvement plan, development, promotion, maintenance of the Central Air Service here in Ogdensburg, construction of T-hangars facilities, construction of an airport ARF building, along with a rescue firefighting vehicle, expansion of the Ogdensburg Port District, development of a port master plan and development study, and the foreign trade zone feasibility study, expansion of the berth and the dock at the Port of Ogdensburg, as well as construction of 2 bulk buildings and the Port Administration building, as well as acquisition of equipment. The Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority would like to extend a special thank you and extend our condolences to Mr. Looney's children, Michael, Mary, and Thomas, as well as to their family. As you can see, Mr. Looney had 28 years of service on the Bridge and Port Authority Board from 1971 to 1999. His contributions are recognized and will be missed.
I move that.
Motion by Mr. Nelson,
Second.
second by Mr. Hooper. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? That's unanimous.
Item 2 is approval of appointment of Tosky Schaefer and Company. Mark, would you like to walk us through that, please?
Sure. Tosky Schaefer and Company are current independent auditors from Buffalo, New York. They've been with us for 3 years now. Prior to that, it was a firm out of Watertown that had been with us for about 30 years or so. Tosky and Schaefer submitted a 2-year proposal to continue their engagement for 2009 and 2010. Basically the same work they're doing now. The tax return for the border station and the financial statement audit required by the state. And because of their extensive experience with public authorities, their governmental experience, the price, as you see on page 15, compared with the last 5 years, 6 years of activity here, I would recommend accepting their proposal for 2 more years.
And the purpose for the 2 years, Mark, is that will give them 5 years with us, and then according to standards...
That'll give them 5 years, and there's talk in the standards, I'm not too sure if they passed yet or not, down about the 5-year rotation of the audit partners. There's been talk of it in the last 6 years.
Depending on what organization you're dealing with, they're all over the board.
Yeah.
There's been nothing conclusive that I know. Our school districts are doing anywhere from 3 to 5 now, no more than 5.
No more than 5.
And then they need to go out with an RFP or deal with another partner.
Yep.
Or rotate the partners.
And we were constructively criticized with you using Sobey and Bowie for as long as we did, so it might be something you want to keep track of so that the next time we can have a candid discussion about
after the next 2 years, we'll go out for another RFP and see what's out there.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Thank you, Mr. Wachek. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed, please say nay. Unanimous.
The third item is support of the Ogdensburg Empire Development Zone. As you know, here at the Bridge and Port Authority, the Empire Development Zone is a significant economic development tool for our park. As you also know, the Empire Zone is scheduled to sunset June 30th, 2011. Before you is a resolution of support recommending the Ogdensburg Empire Zone be continued in its present form. In addition, just to help give some context, page 17 and page 18 are a page that was provided by the city signifying which businesses are in the zone. As you can see, there are quite a few and quite a significant number of jobs that are involved.
Do we have a motion? Mr. Nelson, a second?
Second.
Mr. Hooper? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Unanimous.
Item 4 is under general administration is credit card authorization. The authority has a credit card account which is issued by Bank of America due to a policy change. You can see we're requested to have authorized contact persons that need to be appointed by the officers of the authority. So that's what this agenda item does.
And that's to answer questions on our billing and things like that?
That's correct.
We have a motion?
I have a question though. Is that a floating card that you have access to that let somebody else use, or is that just for your own?
No, management staff has one. Do you want to detail?
Yeah, explain
We have 3 issued cards. Myself, Wade, and John have a card.
Right.
And there is a set limit that we can use on that, $5,000 apiece.
Well, I guess my question is, because other agencies I've worked with, say so-and-so needs the credit card to use for a certain thing, do they have second access to use that card from you with your permission?
With my permission. We use it here in the office, yes.
Okay. So,
They can't take it with them.
Huh? Right.
Someone can't take it with them.
If you can use
Hotel reservations, internet purchase.
okay. Then it's like, there's a place you can use it. Okay. It's in-house, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
And each one of them, at least when, Don, you're now reviewing the folios, so to speak. When I used to review them, everybody had their own account, so it was easy to see who was spending where, which is a nice itemization. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Lamacchia, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Nelson? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously as well.
Next item, May 5, is approval of a supplemental agreement with Carol Griffith and Harold Lambert. This is on the second floor of the Bridge Administration Building for the current lease expiring February 28th, 182 square feet, $10.80 per square foot, per year starting March 1st through February 28th, 2010.
Mark, can you give us a little background as to what the rate increase was and what it used to be and what the rate increase is?
Yep. The old rate was $10.37 a square foot. The new rate is $10.80 a square foot, which is a 4% increase.
4% increase, okay. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Unanimous.
The next item, item A6, very similar, but this time supplemental agreement with Christopher Connell. Again, lease expires February 28th, 2009, 207 square feet in the Bridge Administration Building, rate of $10.80 per square foot through February 28th, 2010.
Those are the same prices, $10.37 up to $10.80, 4% increase.
Are these basically single offices these folks are running?
These last two, yeah.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison. Second.
I'll second.
Mr. Lamacchia. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes unanimously as well.
Next item, item A7, is a resolution urging the Ontario Ministry of Transport to improve signage on Highway 401 for the Ogdensburg Prescott International Bridge. As you approach 721B, this is what you see. This was the new sign that came about as of efforts from 2 years ago, this sign here. The larger sign that you see in the background basically is that sign right there, Johnstown, Kempville, Ottawa. We'd like to see about improving signage and need a resolution to do that. That's the purpose of A7. I'll pass those around if anyone wants to take a closer look.
And that doesn't necessarily say bigger sign, but to improve signage.
Yes, that's correct.
I would ask you to, if you want to fund the signs. We've offered that in the past. So we're going to letter, yeah. So it's not a new issue. You've talked to them about it in the past. Yes, we've met with them and written a letter to them fairly recently.
This was an issue back when Danny Dupree was still with us.
Yeah.
It began back then.
And that new sign has been up for approximately 2 years. So you have 37 sign there that you see down.
Yeah, I'm one of the people that sailed past this at one time, a few years back.
I did.
Whereas if you're coming from Montreal to Missoula, it'll say bridge to USA. This is the only one that doesn't say that. So you wouldn't be sure if you were going to get there by way of bridge. You were going to get there. They're going to route you to 37.
I make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hooper, second by Mr. Lacchia. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Unanimous as well.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, in your extra packets, item D1, approval of a grant offer from the FAA. This is a forward-looking grant opportunity here that I need to explain a little bit. FAA is operating under a compressed time frame this year. As a result, they will award contracts more than likely on the 19th of February, requiring a turnaround on the 20th of February. So what that means is we'll have to basically get it and fax it back. What we're looking for here, this is the general aviation apron expansion and rehabilitation project. The total of the project we think will be $1.2 million, but we're not sure because, again, the grant offer has not been awarded. Funding is available this month, and it has to be accepted and approved by the authority by February 20th, as I mentioned. There are two components to this. There's the base bid, and there's the base bid with the add-on that you see there. If FAA funds the base bid only, it's $1 million project. If they fund the base bid plus the add-on, it's $1,180,000, give or take. Now, so we don't have to call the board back into special session, I'm recommending that we accept a potential grant offer by the FAA up to $1.2 million. So that way, if it's off a couple dollars one way or the other, we don't get caught up in the details there.
So the base bid may be higher, the base bid add-on might be lower.
That's correct. The numbers could change.
But you don't anticipate that go above the 1.2 million.
That's correct. That's correct. 1.2 would be the...
Maybe have a little buffer in there.
And that's important since what's our matching? 2.5%?
2.5%. And as you can see here, the base bid is $1 million. $25,000 would be OBPA, $25,000 DOT, FAA $950,000. You see the corresponding numbers if the base bid and the add-on were awarded as well. Now that's the actual mechanics of the project, but let's take a minute and talk about some of the specifics of the project. The specifics of the project were reviewed with the Facilities Committee last month, and Jim Morrissey came up and did a presentation. I've asked Steve to bring some cut sheets today so we can take a look at the project just as a reminder of what the base bid is and what the add-on is, just so that everybody's grounded and we know what we're talking about today.
I think you're starting at such a compressed time scale like that. That's unbelievable. One day.
It is. That's causing a tremendous amount of problems. Originally, this was the same thing that FAA had set for February 6th, but they weren't able to meet their own time frame, so they had to expand it out.
But did we know about it? We knew about it before February 6th, right? Yeah, we knew it would be tight.
Yes.
They were going to call a meeting in February.
Yeah, we worked out with us about that. I think just that timing looks like it's compressed, but that was what they set, and it's just the timing of the board rather than bring everybody in.
Steve, do you want to put out the cut sheets there, please? Again, this is the apron expansion and the rehabilitation is primarily a aviation parking lot, for lack of a better term.
Just things on this one.
Aviation parking lot meaning parking place.
A large blacktop area.
Park lanes all over the place.
The base bid area, see this line right here?
The buses.
Here's the hangar that we're building right now.
Okay.
And this is the area, what we did was rather than try to do the whole thing, they split it up just so that we knew that we could at least get that. If we bid the whole thing and it was all over budget, then you'd go through a whole, just to meet all those deadlines to assure that CNS backed all of this out. This is all right here. is the base bid. What's that labeled?
The ad. The base bid and the ad.
So this whole area is the ad. So if that doesn't go, what you would see would be just this whole area right here will be reconfigured right there. And that's the actual base bid. But I think it knocks us down.
Not all be pitched to drain the right way.
Yeah, you'll see everything right in there, down to catch basins and taken out of there with that.
That would be a nice addition to the airport.
Yeah, and right here, some of these areas will all be repaired and topsoiled over, and then there's some signage on there that needs to be corrected. I think there, but the general gist is the base bid is this, and this is the added part.
So would it be possible then if they may award just the base without the add-on?
Correct.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Which is why then we're separating it out of our agenda item.
Yeah, something that's, or nothing.
Right. Yeah. And what we just to plan ahead rather than say, well, this is what we want and have the whole thing say it was over and then we were worried about that, we'd get nothing on that. So
There's ultimately three outcomes. It's possible we could get nothing. It's possible we could get the add-on. It's possible we could get the add-on in base. This resolution covers all three.
Well, obviously it's cheaper to do it all at once. If you're going to do it.
Oh yeah, these are still good. This isn't the marking plan, but this will show you where the planes would park. We'd have anchor or tie downs. Thank you, Mary. But this is what we lose there. But this is way more than we've had before, so that would be just a package deal, and we have a rough idea what that would cost. But I think you're not going to get it much cheaper than that, just because that startup and added costs are into the contractor's price. And on a standalone, that'll be significantly higher. Well, not that much higher, but that's one argument with the FAA is to go back and do it. It will cost more.
You're already mobilized.
Yes.
The bigger ones are for the commercial planes, and
Yeah, for a certain size plane that I think, was that based on
That's based on the runway length, the largest type plane that we could have.
So that's the tie down there.
Where do people who ride planes go with their planes? Yeah, where do they go? I mean, do people store them something? I mean, just all right here.
It's pretty much all over. We have two folks that are storing their planes outside right now this winter. Their meeting years are full.
The snowbanks, unless they're there every time to move it away, they really, and they're subjected to quite all kinds of weather there.
Okay.
Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve. So again, staff recommends approval of the grant offered by FAA up to $1.2 million.
I'll move that.
Mr. Markfield? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously.
Next item B2, is for the same project. This is for a cost-plus fixed-fee agreement with C&S Engineers. Again, for the apron rehab and expansion project. Details are not yet known on this project. It could be up to $1.2 million. The independent fee estimate was performed by a company called Passero Associates back in January that determined the C&S fee of $158,458 was reasonable and customary for this project. Again, staff recommends approval of the agreement contingent upon funding and acceptance of the approval of the grant offered by the FAA.
We have a motion.
I'll move that.
Mr. Mark and Mr. Cooper? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Unanimous.
Item 3 is approval of contract with J.E. Sheehan Construction. This is for the bids that were open January 27th. You can see that J.E. Sheehan was a low bidder on the base bid at $837,000 and the add-on at $180,000. Based on this, the low qualified bidder, J.E. Sheehan, will be a cost not to exceed $837,000 for the base bid, $180,000 for the add-on, pending funding and acceptance and approval by the FAA. Again, the $1.2 million project breakdown that you see there for the base bid and the add-on, $1 million for the base bid.
Do we have a motion?
We'll hold these votes until...
Yeah, there's a question.
How long is the requirement for, Steve? Do you know?
Let's say 45, and
Okay.
I don't quote me on that very much.
Do you think we're going to be okay for the bid award?
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move that.
Mr. Nelson, second?
Second.
Mr. Hooper? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Unanimous.
The last item of regular business tonight is agenda item C1, other such matters. This is approval of storage and handling agreement with Drummond's. This is a lease extension for a 30-day period on DDGs through March 31st, 2009 at the corresponding rates you see before you.
And do we have any sort of recap of whether or not we have any fee increases from these, the percentage, do you know? We've handled DDG before.
Yeah, there has been fairly regularly. Every time we come back for a renewal, we've done some standard increases just to encourage them to move the product along. And this time, he fully anticipates moving out by March 31st, and we've included a 25% increase if it's not, just so the building will be available for the open up the seaway.
And without revealing any of our prospects, that won't, if he doesn't move up by March 31st, that won't inhibit us from handling any heavy lift cargo or?
No.
No.
No, it should not. This is a bulk building that we're referencing.
There's a motion.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Hooper. A second? Everyone in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes unanimously as well.
This is the regular business.
And Mrs. Chappell is back with us, so why don't we start with our presentations and comments from citizens. What can we do for you today, Mrs. Chappell?
I am an educator, and I have a company that wants to expand also manufacturing. They need space in the building, so John showed us some space in the building, which is the only acceptable space because it is for defense and it needs to be isolated. So initially when we looked at the building, there is no bathroom. And John had mentioned that there is electrical, but we just had to do the cutouts for where we wanted the plugs. But when we came back for renegotiation, I guess there is no electrical there. So what I'm asking is, and there's an added expense again. We did concede to do half of the bathroom, the expenses for half the bathroom, but there is no bathroom in the building at all. So my question is that normal? And the second question is, should it be our expense to bring the electrical to our part of the building? Like, it's a capital expense, so it's not something, and we're not in the building requesting that you do it at that time. We're not even in the building yet. So I guess I just need a better explanation of why it should be our burden to put the electrical.
When we built the shell building, we built it truly to be a shell building. In fact, we had sent out questionnaires as to how large it should be, how tall the door should be, that sort of thing. And it's my recollection that the reason we left, for example, the toilets, the soil pipe plumbed but not installed, and no demising walls because we didn't know at that point in time, we don't even have a prospect for the building. But Steve, can you fill us in on electrical wiring and that sort of thing? Because I do know there's electric to the building. I do remember that because NIMO.
Yeah, Marlene, like if you look at the warehouse part of it, that's basically complete. It has lighting, it has all and it's all set up for your high pile storage or things like that. But if you put in a manufacturing thing, generally there's a build out with that, and that any kind of build out or anything wouldn't be our responsibility. Now on the front part, we didn't know any configuration of what people would want for offices. So what we did was we left that concrete area out. You've seen that, right? And what we said was, well, rather than, somebody may want a break room, may want 3 bathrooms, and when we set this up, we were trying to avoid all of those things of spending money, then having to go and redo it. So we could have put some kind of configuration that whatever client you had come in there may not even just look at it and say, this isn't going to work for us, or it's too much. Or, we may say, well, 2 bathrooms or things like that. So what we said was, we take care of that concrete area and the soil pipe, and then when someone wanted to do a build-out, basically they would come in, they would make a commitment to that and put in office space and reconfigure it the way they wanted to at their expense. We would, and then depending on, how large, a commitment they were going to make and what they wanted to put in the building, then we could negotiate any kind of added expenses or anything like that. But at the time, we weren't going to decide, and that's how we built the building.
So how would you configure our cost for that 4,000 square feet? How would you configure the electrical for our 4,000?
That would be up to the way the tenant would pay those costs. It has a house wiring, so that, everything you see there is wired, and all the electrical in there is all off a house panel. There are there's switchgear in there they're set up for 3 8,000 square foot areas, and when that would come about, you would put in your panel and you would do your wiring for that.
Would any other tenant benefit from her wiring for her 4,000 square feet?
No, that would be strictly for whatever, if you have a tenant, whatever they want, they would put the panel in and then wire the space however they wanted to do that.
No, you're the tenant.
If they had another 4,000 square foot tenant in there, they could use the same panel, right? Or no?
Right, but I'm just talking about the 8,000 square feet.
Yeah, okay.
That's what she's asking. So it's at our expense, then someone else couldn't use it.
So strictly to the reg. She wants any wiring she does is strictly to that. I mean, 4,000. Yeah, and that would. So in other words, you're saying if you want to divide that 8,000 into 4,000, and someone took the other 4,000, then they'd have to pay for whatever they needed to do.
It would already be there. It would already be there.
It would be. We wanted it so that a certain tenant would pay their own utility bills. As it is now, we split all of that up.
That's not the way John explained it. He just said that they would pay a portion of it and we would pay a portion of it as it sits now.
Right, Molly, because you don't have, your power isn't split off yet. If you're just using it like it is,
right,
then we would have to apportion whatever part you're using and split it.
Yes. That's what we decided. Right. But on the same token, we didn't know there wasn't electrical to that part.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, we weren't, when we looked at it, you were the one that pointed it out, actually. And I thought in the office area that there was electrical behind the sheetrock or something. I was surprised. And there's just one out in the industrial area, and I learned later that you have to run a panel all the way from the utility room over to serve that 8,000 square foot area.
Which would be the most expensive because it was in the furthest area.
Correct.
Which was a bottom line of how much?
There's been a few estimates out there. I don't know if we should. I've already talked to Barney about it, but I don't know if we should say that publicly because they're quotations.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant. Again, we've got the press in the room, but a little hesitant to negotiate in public session.
Bottom line is, I just need to know, because there may be other situations where I have companies that want to expand, that obviously not 20,000 square feet. So my presentation is just to find out where we stand here. Is the building going to just stay empty until you can get 22,000 or somebody to take the whole building?
I think optimally they'd like to rent the whole building to one individual, but the other option is, and I think John has explored it and is exploring it, subdividing it without chopping it up too much.
Right.
No offense, some tenants wouldn't necessarily be as attractive as another tenant if they're going to take bits and pieces. But that doesn't mean then that if you have a tenant or a prospective client tenant for us, certainly I would encourage you to work up a business offering that says this is the number of years we want it, and the truth of the matter is the longer you can commit to us and the larger the space, I can't imagine we wouldn't entertain other ideas for helping you get those improvements done.
Actually, the name of the game is they come in and they take a certain amount of space. If everything goes well, then they all expand.
Right.
It's inevitable they'll expand.
But you have to understand, too, a tenant that comes to us that it will give us 3 years or 5 years or whatever.
We offer 3.
Certainly, and bring to us, your ideas for what your costs are and what you'd like from us would be most ideal.
How does lease work? Like, for example, you've got the shell, so Marlene comes into town, they said they want, how many square feet?
4,000.
4,000 square feet. Does our lease have a portion for the build out to be prorated in there? Like, for example, if she says, I want 4,000 and we want to build out this way, because you've got a rate in this quote for the...
Yes, we had them, they want to do improvements to the office area, and that's at their expense. Then we negotiated for the bathroom. There was a price for that, and we agreed on sharing the cost of that. And the electrical, negotiations.
So leases have a provision for the build out? So if I were coming in there and say, I want 4,000, I want you to build it out, are you going to prorate that in my rent? Or how do you
We do that a lot of times, yes. Yeah.
Sometimes it's cheaper to do that as opposed to put up a demising wall or something along those lines. In this case, ideal world, this building would suit two specific tenants. The building, the way it's divided presently, about 8,000 square foot would be one ideal tenant, and 16,000 foot would be the square foot would be the other ideal tenant. That building lends itself at the present time. If you wanted to put up a wall in between, like let's say, for example, you wanted to divide that 16,000 square feet in half, that wall is on average, what is that, Steve, about $22,000, I think?
Yeah.
That's some of the numbers that we're
In
getting
the
there.
warehouse area.
Are you still engaged in negotiations or no?
We won't pay the electrical.
That stands with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think that's a capital improvement. I don't think it should be on us, because if in 5 years from now we paid your electrical hookup, and I feel it's your electrical hookup. If we're paying a lease, then that's a lease. If you were going to rent a house, you wouldn't have to do the electrical to rent a house.
But at the same time, that building is a spec building because
If that's what you want to stay, then I won't present it to anyone, but...
And we don't have any other buildings that would work for them.
We showed them space in another building, and they weren't interested.
It has to be secluded. It can't be...
So then, would your tenant be able to be in an 8,000 square foot section of a 24,000 square? In other words, if there was a tenant we had for 16,000 square feet, that would be secluded enough for you?
It has to be totally secluded. It can't be...
So you can't share the building with anyone.
So if you went in that building, the rest of the building would be unrentable.
No. We decided we'd put up a wall. We'd pay half to put up the wall if someone else came in. See, if we're in there and there are improvements to be done, I understand that. But we're not even in there yet. But you want the tenant to take the burden of moving the electrical, which should have been done. I mean, it should have... Each section should have had its own electrical, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. You can't run one panel for the whole building. So, but I just need an understanding if you don't want to subdivide that, that's all I need to know.
I don't know if that is the case.
I wouldn't characterize it that case. I'd characterize it as we're negotiating, and negotiations broke down. Again, we've got a policy on the books that dates from 1997. It was revised in 2005. That specifically states that leasehold improvements and tenant improvements will be billed back to the tenant. So in some form or another, it has to be recouped in the rate.
That's not an improvement. We're not there yet, and we aren't a tenant. We need that to actually do business.
It's a little vague and a little unique situation compared with some of the other.
But I think we kept that building vague and unique because we didn't know if we were going to have a massive distributor come in, dealing with parcels, manufacturing. So for us to go ahead and wire things and then have to rewire them didn't make sense either. But certainly, I think it'd be encouraging to bring any one of your prospects to the table. And I wouldn't like you to be discouraged. And to be quite honest, the more attractive you can make your prospects to us, which is, a 5-year commitment to us or longer, I would think that would make your negotiating for those sorts of shared services a lot more lucrative to your client.
Do you need a decision right away as far as this?
Absolutely not. I just need an understanding of, do you want me to push this building, or do you want me to stay away because I don't have a client big enough to take it? That's the bottom line. I don't think any of my clients that want to step in and spend $26,000 on something that isn't even theirs. I just don't find that.
But you foresee the third of the building being used by your client at some point in time. It would first be a sixth and then possibly a third.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's what it was.
This is a very strong company, and I feel very confident. They've been with me 3 years now. This is our fourth growth. So.
My can't say enough good things about the company either. I mean, it's an outstanding company out of Canada, and I wish we could have come to terms, and maybe we still can. I don't know.
I would make a real brief suggestion. I mean, we're clearly talking about negotiations here. Why don't we go into executive session very quick? That way we can have a free conversation.
Well, I think what you said earlier is this is not the format for negotiations or this type of discussion, so.
But at the same time, in her defense, Mrs. Chappell, she's going to bring clients to this building, and she wants to know, do we want her to bring clients? And I think the answer is yes, we do.
Yes.
But not every client is going to fit our needs either.
And I don't bring every client as John knows. I keep John.
Oh, I don't mean it that way. You know what I'm saying? If you thought someone would fit, absolutely, you should bring them.
And I'm very confident they'll fit, and I'm very confident they're going to grow.
Great. So we continue with
business.
Well, that's my point, too. I've been here 18 years, and that's what I try to make them grow, so they're on their own.
Yeah.
I've done my job, but they're on their own. So.
There may be a benefit to going into executive session.
Well, we have a full board. That would be better. Would you think?
Well, I think maybe just I'd like to hear a little more than that. Good. Sure.
Marlene, I would invite you to stay for the executive session because I'm not comfortable talking about your proposed rates with either side.
motion going into executive session, second by Mr. Hooper. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Unanimous.
Ongoing contract negotiations.
Negotiations. Yeah.
You realize you'd be getting the long open session. I hadn't planned on it. I had the staff that we can do away with them unless there's a burning desire to really hear them. I'd be happy to go through them.
We have lost our quorum during the executive session, so technically I suppose we don't have any ability to close the meeting, but I doubt the press will be too upset that we're going to close the meeting anyway.
We can close the meeting.
We're not going to do staff reports tonight, unless anybody has any questions on staff reports. Don or Phil, you're okay with staff reports?
I wrote them all. The only question I had, and I think I know the answer to it anyway, is the big increase in the number of W-2s has to do with the heavy lifting.
Completely that. ILA out there this summer. Yep. Actually, more than that for 5-6 months. W-2s went up from 67 to 114, something like that, Steve.
114 and 67.
Excellent.
Well, I think that's great because it's that many more people we were able to get working in the community.
Yep.
Excellent indication of how many folks we're putting to work.
Yeah.
Do we have anything more? Any more need for business? March 3rd, 3 p.m. Is that next meeting?
I will not be here March 3rd.
You won't.
Back from Virginia.
Okay.
So
You might want to keep an eye on the quorum then, right?
I don't think we get to 3 p.m.
You need an extra hour.
We've got some executive session issues that are going to take up some time.
At our last meeting, he told us he wanted to move back an hour because he needs some executive.
make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. Hooper. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Vice Chair.